She stood in the shadows, quiet, loyal, and unshaken. While the world hurled accusations, while headlines screamed, while Phil Robertson, the rugged icon of Duck Dynasty, battled scandal after scandal, Miss K never wavered. She was there, always. Not for the fame. Not for the cameras. But for him. For decades, she stayed silent. Through the chaos, the backlash, and the whispers, she kept her heart guarded and her mouth closed. Fans wondered. The media speculated. But Miss K said nothing. Until now. After Phil Robertson's passing, something changed. The silence was broken, not with a gentle eulogy, but with a truth so raw, so unexpected, that it left even longtime fans stunned. What she finally revealed wasn't just emotional, it was explosive. This wasn't just a farewell. It was a reckoning. Get ready, because what Miss K finally said, will shake everything you thought you knew. If people really knew what went on behind closed doors. The struggles, the fights, the private man behind the public beard. They might not see Phil Robertson the same way again. Before he became the iconic, rugged face of Duck Dynasty. Before the duck calls, the fame, the controversies. Phil Robertson was just a poor country boy trying to make sense of a hard world. Born on April 24, 1946, in the quiet town of Vivian, Louisiana. Phil was the fifth of 7 kids, growing up in a tiny log cabin with no electricity, no plumbing, not even a bathtub. Groceries? Rarely. His family lived off the land, hunting, fishing, and farming to survive. Deer, squirrels, fish, whatever they could catch, they ate. Survival wasn't a choice. It was life. And yet, Phil always remembered those days as the happiest of his life. In his own words, we lived like it was the 1850s, but we were always happy, happy, happy. Despite the hardships, Phil stood out. He was a natural athlete, a star in football, baseball, and track, so much so that it earned him a college scholarship. He later graduated in physical education and briefly became a teacher. But a bar, a storm, and one bold idea would soon change everything. In 1972, chasing his love for duck hunting, Phil created a duck call. He named it Duck Commander. And with that single invention, he built an empire. Later, he turned it into a full-fledged business. What started out as a small venture is now a multimillion-dollar company run by his son Willie Robertson. Phil's down-to-earth, rough-around-the-edges appeal and unique family background caught the attention of TV producers, and from 2012 to 2017, Duck Dynasty was a ratings hit on AA Andy, making the Robertsons famous. Phil didn't stop there. He appeared on documentaries like Torchbearer and worked with conservative outlets like CRTV. In 2023, a movie called The Blind was released. The movie tells the story of Phil's humble beginnings, his marriage to Kay, and how faith changed their lives long before the cameras started rolling. From living in a shack in Louisiana on welfare to becoming a national celebrity, Phil Robertson's life is nothing short of amazing. In 2015, Citizens United and Breitbart News gave him the Andrew Breitbart Defender of the First Amendment Award at CPAC for his strong support of free speech, especially after his. In 2013, Robertson said some hurtful things about homosexuality in a GQ interview, which caused a lot of controversy. Even after Eddie Andy threatened to suspend him and everyone condemned him, Robertson refused to change his beliefs. Some conservative leaders, like Sarah Palin and Bobby Jindal of Louisiana, even came out in support of him. In his CPAC acceptance speech, Robertson gave a passionate speech about the need for religious freedom and traditional values. Robertson's speech, while appealing to many conservatives. There was also criticism of what he said and how he said it. He went over his time limit, which caused organizers to play music to mark the end of his speech. Other attendees and observers thought that his long speech overshadowed other activities at the conference. Despite the problems, the award showed how influential Robertson is in conservative circles and how he is a leading voice for free speech and traditional values. His recognition at CPAC also showed how deeply divided conservatives are. Americans' views on faith, morality, and freedom of speech. Phil's public battle. In December 2013, Phil Robertson was at the center of a huge controversy that almost killed Duck Dynasty. It all started with an interview he did for the January 2014 issue of GQ magazine in a spread called What the Duck. In the interview, Phil was asked what he thought was sinful, and his answer caused immediate backlash. He listed homosexuality, bestiality, and promiscuity as all sins. He used the book of 1 Corinthians to explain his interpretation of the Bible and said that people who live in those ways will not inherit the kingdom of God. He also said that he didn't have same-sex relationships because he thought a woman's body was more attractive to a man. Phil stressed that he wasn't judging others as individuals and that he didn't think anyone else had the right to judge but God. "We just love him," he told those with different lifestyles, "we'll let God sort him out later." But the damage was already done. When the interview went online, it caused a huge backlash. People were angry, activists called it hateful, and soon the network that showed Duck Dynasty and suspended Phil indefinitely. Phil tried to brush things off, and Andy said in his defense that he had never meant to offend anyone, no matter how different they were from him. But the backlash kept going in the wrong direction, and millions of viewers defended Phil, saying that he had the right to say what he thought. A Facebook group for him gained over 1.5 million supporters, and even politicians spoke out for Phil's right to free speech. With all the tension building, Andy acted quickly and suspended him. A few days later, the network reversed their decision, and Phil was back on the show. No episodes were ever taken off the air or rescheduled. The stunt showed how divided public opinion could be, but it also showed how strong Phil's fan base was. It was a huge cultural moment surrounding faith, free speech, and what role do TV personalities play in modern society? Whether you agreed with him or not, Phil Robertson wasn't afraid to say what he thought. The CPAC speech that shocked everyone in 2015, Phil Robertson caused even more controversy when he gave a speech at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, where conservatives meet to talk about their values and beliefs. While he was speaking for 30 minutes, he received the Breitbart Defender of the First Amendment Award. He didn't hold back when he had strong opinions about what was wrong with the world, and things got weird when he said that the rise in sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, could be blamed on groups like Nazis, communists, beatniks, and hippies. This was a bizarre and disturbing statement that left many people confused and others angry. But that wasn't all. Phil then started a long and violent story about a made-up atheist family in which a man breaks into the home of an atheist, attacks his wife and daughters and kills them. When the atheist asks why this is happening, the attacker replies, "But you're the one who says there is no God, no right or wrong, we're just having fun." The story was meant to teach people about morality and the dangers of not believing in God, but many people found it disturbing and upsetting. Some found it offensive because it made atheists seem violent or lacking morals. Phil's speech became controversial. Videos of the speech went viral right away on all social media sites, and news outlets covered the most shocking parts. Like his GQ interview 2 years ago, this speech divided people. Fans praised him for standing up for his values and beliefs, while critics were furious that he used the speech to spread fear and judgment. Phil didn't seem too bothered by the backlash, though, because he said what he believed, no matter how unpopular, was just part of who he was. In January 2016, Robertson publicly backed Senator Ted Cruz for president. He did this in a campaign video called Cruz Commander, in which he and Cruz hunted ducks together. In the video, Robertson said, "My qualifications to be President of the United States are fairly narrow. Is he or she godly? Does he or she love us? Can he or she do the job? And finally, would they kill a duck, put him in a pot, and make him a good duck gumbo? I've looked at the candidates, and Ted Cruz is my choice. He has Bill Robertson's support," he said. Cruz wanted to get evangelical voters to support him, so he was grateful when Robertson backed his campaign. "I am excited to have Phil's endorsement of our campaign," Cruz said. The Robertsons are a good family of great Christian faith and conservative values. The Cruise Commander video showed how Robertson agreed with Cruise on issues of faith, family, and traditional American values. Robertson's support was part of Cruise's overall plan to win over conservative Christian voters in certain primary states. Promoted the connection between politics and entertainment, showing how public figures can affect political campaigns. His support of Cruise also emphasized the value of a political movement with strong personalities to reach certain voter groups. Phil Robertson openly backed Roy Moore in Alabama's special U.S. Senate election in 2017, even though it caused a lot of controversy. Moore was an assistant district attorney in the 1970s and was accused of many sexual encounters with underage girls. However, Robertson defended Moore by saying that Moore was a good judge because he understood the Constitution and the law, but he also knew natural law and who gave us our rights in the first place, God Almighty. Moore will stand up for truth and justice. I fully support his candidacy for the Senate and pray for him and his family to help Moore's campaign. Robertson shared the stage with former White House advisor Steve Bannon at a rally in Fair Hope, Alabama. The rally was meant to rally Moore's supporters and push back against growing criticism from both Democrats and Republicans. Several establishment Republicans had dropped their support for Moore after the allegations, but Robertson and Bannon were there to support Moore. Robertson's support for Moore showed the split in the party and the importance of evangelical leaders in American politics. In the end, Moore lost the election to Democrat Doug Jones, which was a huge political surprise in Alabama, which is usually a Republican state. Robertson's unwavering support for Moore, even in the face of scandals, shows how deeply he believes in the candidate and is willing to back them even if most people don't. His fight with Andy over faith and censorship is a classic example of this. In 2013, Phil Robertson publicly criticized Andy and the network that showed the show for what he called editing choices that didn't accurately show his family's values. He said that producers added fake bleeps to the show to make it look like the family was cursing when they weren't. Robertson asked, "What's the point of the fake bleeps?" and made it clear that there was no cursing going on. Robertson also complained that, "In Jesus' name," wasn't included in their evening. He said that producers would edit out these prayers so as not to offend non-Christian viewers. Robertson asked the production staff why they were leaving out such an important part of their religion. These editorial decisions made Robertson think that the show was being changed in a way that was meant to hurt their Christian faith. He called these changes part of a larger spiritual war that showed there was a deliberate attempt to hurt their faith. After talking to the producers about these problems, Robertson said that the bleeps and unwanted edits stopped, which allowed the family's values to be better shown on TV. This event shows how hard it is for people who want to keep their religious practices in mainstream media. Phil Robertson was a strong opponent of abortion and used his fame to speak out against it. He believed that life begins at conception and that every unborn child has the right to live. Robertson called the abortion industry dishonest and dangerous on his web show Into the Woods. He questioned the idea that abortion was only a woman's health issue by pointing out how many unborn girls are aborted and asking, what about their health? He also said that abortion was morally weighty because it ended innocent lives. Robertson's support for the pro-life movement didn't end with his voice. His son Alan and daughter-in-law Lisa also got involved. Lisa, a pro-life activist, talked about having an abortion when she was 16 and how it affected her emotionally and mentally. She also talked about the lies she was told at the clinic and the guilt she still felt, saying, "That was my baby they took out of my body." Lisa's testimony was meant to show others the truth about abortion and give them hope and healing. Together, Lisa and her husband Robertson spoke at festivals and colleges across the country to support the sanctity of life. They wanted people to support pregnancy centers and give women who are having unplanned pregnancies help. Their campaign was based on compassion education and the need to offer abortion options. Phil Robertson's strong Christian beliefs and dedication to the sanctity of all human life led him to strongly oppose abortion. In both words and actions, he tried to inspire others to stand up for the unborn and help those who have been hurt by abortion. Had a famous college football career before turning his attention to business and hunting in the mid-1960s. Robertson was the starting quarterback for Louisiana Tech University for 2 years, 1966 and 1967, ahead of Terry Bradshaw, who would go on to become an NFL Hall of Fame quarterback, who was a freshman backup at the time. Robertson's career included a 179-411 record for 2,237 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 34 interceptions. Even though he was very athletic, Robertson loved being outside and would often come to practice after work to practice. He turned down a chance to play professional football for the Washington Redskins because he loved hunting so much. Instead, he chose to follow his outdoor passion. Robertson's retirement from football made room for Bradshaw to become the starting quarterback at Louisiana Tech. Bradshaw would later say that Robertson's decision gave him the chance to become the starter, which ultimately led to. After a successful career in the NFL, Robertson turned his attention to his love of hunting and eventually started the Duck Commander Company in 1972. His creative duck calls became popular with hunters, and the success of the company led to the creation of the reality TV show Duck Dynasty, which put Robertson and his family in the national spotlight. Robertson's journey from college quarterback to successful businessman and TV star shows how dedicated he is to pursuing his interests, even if it means going against the rules. Phil's secret daughter. In 2020, Phil Robertson had an unexpected revelation. He had an affair in the 1970s before he became a Christian, and the woman was his daughter, Phyllis. Phyllis found out this family's secret with the help of a commercial DNA test that told her the man she grew up with as her father was not her real father. DNA testing later confirmed a 99. Phil Robertson had a 9% match with Phyllis when the news came out. He welcomed her as family and officially introduced her on the family's podcast Unashamed, where Phyllis talked about her journey of discovery and the emotional moment she met her biological father and siblings. Phil said that he wasn't proud of where he had been but was thankful for the chance to get to know his daughter, saying, "It's amazing to see what God has brought out of my mess." The Robertson family, including Phil's wife Miss Kay and their sons, welcomed Phyllis with open arms. Miss Kay talked about the discovery and said she had forgiven Phil years ago and was happy to have Phyllis as a member of the family. The family's acceptance of Phyllis was shown by the fact that they took her to family gatherings and even on duck hunting trips, which is a beloved family tradition. This surprise reunion not only added a new member to the family but also showed how much they valued forgiveness and belief. Many fans were moved by the family's willingness to share this personal story, which showed how determined they are to deal with life's challenges. In his personal life, Phil Robertson and Marcia Miss Kay Caraway's relationship began in high school. They were sweethearts in 1964 and married in 1966. However, their marriage wasn't always easy. Phil was involved in drugs, sex, and rock and roll, which caused a lot of problems. Things got so bad that they broke up for a while, but Phil and Marcia got back together. He changed his life through his Christian beliefs, and he and his wife were able to fix their marriage despite some rough patches. Many people have called their marriage rock solid and enduring. Their oldest son, Alan, was born while they were still in college. Phil became a practicing Christian and took his faith very seriously over the years. He served as an elder at the White's Ferry Road Church of Christ in West Monroe and often spoke out about his religious beliefs. He was strongly against abortion, seeing it as a violation of the Declaration of Independence and wasn't afraid to share his opinions in performances and interviews. Phil also got involved in politics. In 2013, he backed Vance Mallister, a new politician running for Congress in Louisiana's 5th District. With Phil's support, Mallister surprised everyone by winning the election. In 2016, Phil backed Ted Cruz's presidential campaign, but when Cruz dropped out, Phil switched his support to Donald Trump while he was still in office. Can't help but support Roy Moore in the 2017 Alabama Senate special election. Phil stayed involved in politics and social issues. When Ben Carson quit as the leader of the Fight for the Court project, Phil took over. Phil stayed vocal about the issues he cared about. His path has been marked by many highs and lows, including fame, faith, scandal, and personal epiphanies. His declining health has made Phil Robertson the patriarch of the Duck Dynasty. Dynasty clan was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in December 2024. His family said on their podcast Unashamed with the Robertson family that Phil was in the early stages of the disease. Over time, Phil's health got worse. In April 2025, his son Jace told everyone that he wasn't doing well and that he had started getting professional help. His family focused on making him comfortable and spending quality time with him. Phil Robertson died on May 25, 2025, at the age of 79, but his family did not release an official cause of death. Official cause of death: it was known that Phil had been dealing with health problems like early-stage Alzheimer's that had affected him in the months before he died. Phil's family broke the news with sadness, expressing their grief and gratitude for the love from fans around the world. His son Jace had earlier said on their family podcast that Phil was not doing well and had started getting full-time care despite his illness, but that Phil's family stayed with him and cared for him with the same love and courage that Phil had shown. Phil's daughter-in-law said that the family held a private service to say goodbye, but they will also be holding a public celebration of his life so that all of his friends, fans, and followers can come together to honor the man who made such an impact on reality TV and in many people's hearts. In his honor, Robertson wasn't most effective a TV celebrity. He was a hunter, preacher, father, husband and man of religion who held speedy to his convictions even when they ruffled feathers and precipitated controversy. Along with his faith-owned family and organization Duck Commander, Phil found himself the embodiment of Southern grittiness and dedication. His became not a mean life, and now that he is gone his legacy lives on through his kids, grandchildren and the Severa individuals who were inspired by way of him from the bayou of Louisiana to houses around the globe. Phil Robertson's tale could be instructed for generations to come. What K. Robertson finally said after Phil's death ever for the reason that her husband Phil Robertson's loss of life. Miss O.K. Robertson has been having a horrific time after having been married for nearly 60 years, dropping him weighed heavily on her each mentally and bodily. Even as Miss K has now not issued any public announcement regarding the demise of Phil, her own family individuals have found out how she has been doing off the radar. Her son Willie Robertson said his mom isn't doing notable for the time being. She's suffering with depression following the loss of the man who changed into her existence associate for such a lot of years. Willie added that the entire own family is trying to be strong for her and be round her as an awful lot as possible for the duration of this tough time. Omit K's fitness problems started out acting in advance. Inside the year she took a awful fall in April and shrunk an infection requiring her to be hospitalized. It turned into a terrifying revel and for the circle of relatives. Ultimately her different son Jace Robertson mentioned that their mom now requires round-clock expert scientific attention. That is to say, she now has a person with her 24/7 to help her with ordinary needs and reveal her properly being. No matter all of these setbacks, Miss K hasn't totally avoided the limelight. On June 1st she seemed on the remodeled Duck Dynasty. It turned into a unique day whilst she seemed at a own family infant shower. There she gave a heartfelt prayer praising God for own family and the present of latest life. It became an emotional second that reminded humans of her religious religion and love for her family. While she has now not openly discussed her sorrow, her inner strength, abiding religion and devotion to her family are obvious in what she does. She has acquired plenty love and prayers from enthusiasts who continue to send them to her as she grieves, heals and unearths peace with the ones she loves. First class. Ultimately leave out K. Robertson's subtle electricity and Phil Robertson's multifaceted legacy have converged in a successful and poignant very last bankruptcy. After nearly 6 decades of marriage, losing Phil intended something greater than dropping a spouse. It changed into losing an accomplice who had encouraged her existence, shared her beliefs and marched along her through each problem and celebration. Phil become no longer a perfect guy, and he in no way professed to be. He had a tough past, one marred by using, ingesting, cheating and private turmoil, but he also underwent a profound transformation. His evolution from awful boy teens to born-again Christian patriarch and television family icon inspired many. He created a commercial enterprise from scratch, headlined one among television's maximum sudden hit series, and never hesitated to voice his opinion even if it triggered controversy. To overlook K. Phil become extra than a public determined. He turned into the daddy of her children, her excessive faculty sweetheart and her ever-present associate in times of fame and worry. Her silence following his demise became eloquent. And while she sooner or later spoke it changed into with humility and quiet faith. She did not consider the limelight or the drama. Instead she respected the person she knew, the one who redeemed himself, loved his own family with all his coronary heart, and always got here returned to his religion. As the world is remembering Phil Robertson, it's certain that his effect stretched far beyond the display screen, and as Passover K is going on, residing without him, her braveness is a lovable reminder of the affection and faith that sustained them via it all. If Phil and Leave Out K's story touched your coronary heart, take into account to love this video and enroll in our channel for more testimonies about faith, circle of relatives, and the individuals who formed American tradition in unforgettable ways. Hit the notification bell so you in no way miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we're going to see you inside the next one.